All right, finishing up the Underworld franchise with Underworld Blood Wars. You got Selene here in some snowy terrain, something different in the franchise. Of course, they're always trying to change things up. And the franchise, I think in every single one since the first one, of course, this is not how the first one started, but I feel like in part 2 and 4, pretty much for sure, and then 3 might have even done it as well. It's like it seems like every single time we get the same opening with Selene cutting Victor's head off, and like we see it like slide down and everything. Like it's like we get it, man. Like by the 5th movie, if your audience isn't caught up, then I don't know. I'm always that guy that's just like, we don't need a recap. When you're that many movies in, like something like you go to like see Saw 6 or something, it's like we don't need recaps, man. We just don't. Like if you're in the theater seeing Saw 6, you fucking better have seen the rest. Like what are you doing in them? What are you doing watching a movie that's like the 6th film in a franchise and you've never seen a single one of them? To me, that's just stupid. Like, go watch the movies. Maybe you were dragged there, but let somebody explain it to you, because you shouldn't, be there, honestly. That's how I feel anyway. All right, moving on. Now, we completely cut the Eve out of this. We just bring it right back to Selene is on her own again, which is what I think they're trying to sell with this franchise at this point. It's Selene's franchise. She's carrying the torch for the rest of these films, and she doesn't even need a kid anymore. So she hides the kid, and even from herself, so even if she's bitten, she can't give away the location. And that remains throughout. She does not, we never do find the kid. So, the villains and all that never do find the kid. So it is a cool move. It makes sense, and it eliminates a character that pretty much had served its purpose, I suppose. Violence in this is yet again really good. This franchise consistently has really good kills. Werewolves being torn in half, and just werewolves attacking humans and people and biting their faces and shit. Like there's a lot of really good gore in this, and violence as well. So the vampires, of course, are wanting. They feel like they're at their end, and they're fearful for their future, and they want Selene to come in and train a whole new, class. I guess I don't know what to say. A whole new fucking platoon, a whole new squad of death dealers, and she, of course, begrudgingly doesn't want to go, but does because she's talked into it by her newfound. They don't have a love interest, but her newfound buddy David kind of talks her into it. Like, hey, my dad says it's legit. My dad's a good guy. You might not like him, but he's a good dude. And so she does. She comes in, and it's all a big setup. It's been set up by what becomes our main villain of the movie, and that is what the fuck is her name? I tell you guys this every time. I always feel like I'm gonna write it up top, and sometimes I do. Samira, right? It's like I was gonna say it's like Samara. It's like Samara from fucking The Ring, or Samara Weaving, even better. Samira. Yeah, she's like the real villain here, and she has Vargo, I think that's his name. He's kind of her lapdog, and he sees her as the ruler. As we find out in this, he serves the one true king or ruler or whatever of this coven, and that's what he sees later on in somebody else. So that's why he turns on her. But at this point, this dude goes straight up Anakin Skywalker and just lays waste to all these younglings. Now these aren't kids, but they're completely defenseless, man. He just goes and he just lights them all up across the board. Damn brutal. And the whole point of this movie is that the vampires, the werewolves, everyone's looking for her daughter so that they can get the blood. And then Samira is wanting Celine's blood because she finds out that Celine has the Covenus strain in it, so she should be able to get it from Celine. So she kidnaps her, starts sucking her blood dry, and then she is rescued. And they try to make their way up out of there. And this is when David's father comes in and sacrifices his life. And it's a moment, but it's not a great moment. It's not a great moment because, as I said before in the last review, there's not a lot set up here. Like, David and his father, they have a little bit. There's a little bit. But am I really feeling for this character? Like, he has a little bit of a turnover from the first movie. Like, not the first movie, but the last movie, should I say. But as I said, it's very hollow. It's kind of like, oh, this is my dad. My dad's kind of a hard ass. He doesn't expect, he's gonna trade you in. He's gonna turn on you, and last minute he's gonna sacrifice himself. It's just very generic, and it's very by the numbers, and it's hollow. There's nothing unique to it. It's a good performance. Charles Dance, right? I mean, he always gives good performances, so that's nothing unexpected. It's just not working with much. So when it happens, you're kind of like, oh, okay. He sacrificed himself. That's a bummer. He was he seemingly was a good guy. So there you go. And Samira actually even has Vargo as her lover, and it doesn't seem like he's all that into it. And I've always been fascinated with scenes where guys go down on chicks when they're just standing straight up and their legs are like, both legs are straight down. Like, you can't really properly go down on a girl with her just standing there. It's not like a penis, man. It doesn't extend from the body like that. Like, the vagina is like, you guys know how it is. I don't even explain what a fucking vagina is, how it works. It's just funny to me. Anytime I see it in a movie, I'm like, I mean, she put her leg up, sure. Like, you should popped it up on a table, then you could get in there. But like, when I see this in movies every once in a while. Like, they try to reverse the role, right? It's usually the guy that's pushing the unwilling girl down there to suck his dick and this and that. So they flip the role. Cool, fine, okay. You got this villainous chick, and she's got this sexual lapdog slave that also kills people for whatever, and she wants him to sexually pleasure her and all that. Fine, okay. But we're adults. Like, the people who wrote that scene, the people who starred in that scene, the director, all of these people, I would assume they've all had sex. They've all, performed oral sex on one another. Conolingus, if you will. That's just not how that works. I mean, I guess you could do it a little, but like, she's just standing there, like, legs kind of like just together, like standing normal. You can't. Okay, I've talked about this for way too long, but I've never gotten to talk about this on my channel before, and you guys know how sex is pretty much sex and horror, like gore and tits and sex. That's like the most thing I want to talk about, and I'm just like trying to like figure out in my mind, like, how do you get up in there? Maybe if you're a vampire, you can do it, but or maybe I'm just I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right? And somebody's gonna be like, Jason, you don't know how to get a chick off with her legs basically closed. Like, yeah, even lay her down and let her fucking legs close and try to get in there and do something. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can finger her, I guess, but he's going down with his head, so he ain't just okay. It's like 5 minutes on oral sex. All right, Celine, yeah, blah blah blah. We already talked about all that. And David, now that he's been saved by Celine, I guess she's passed on the Covenus strain to him, so he can walk out in the sun with her. He has a moment where he's like, oh shit, I'm sunbathing and I'm not sparkling. Those movies are a lie. And Celine, I guess, stole Samira's role with Victor. I guess Victor had Samira before Celine came on. That's why she hates her, but she just, I mean, really, at the end of the day, she just wants the strain so she can become even more advanced than she already is. And David kind of just becomes like the Aragorn of the series here. Like, he's told that he's the rightful heir, and he's given the sword, and he's like doesn't know if he wants, and the people who are there, like, they don't know if they're gonna swear their allegiance to him or not. And then, you know, last second the guy does, much like Boromir. You know, I would have followed you, my leader, my king. Like, oh, now if you want to talk about character development, fuck, study the hell out of those movies. Not these movies. And I like that the vampires, they live in the cold to keep themselves safe from the warm bloods, as they refer to them as. I would assume they're meaning werewolves, but then 20 minutes later in the movie, or maybe an hour later, I don't know however long it wasn't that much longer, it didn't feel, so 30 minutes later we'll compromise on that. The werewolves come and just attack in droves, and it's like, isn't that the whole point of you living there, is for those things to not want to come there, and to not come there, to like die if they came there or something? Like, I guess when they've got their new leader, Marius, he's who turns into like this Professor Hulk kind of werewolf. He's like still human while being a wolf. And Celine talks about in, I think it's the last movie when she's training them, that a werewolf is it's least dangerous when it's a werewolf, because it can't pick up a weapon. It really is just kind of, and it doesn't have any critical thinking or anything. It's just a wolf. It's just an idiot. It's just an animal. And then this guy kind of has the best of both worlds, as I said, much like Professor Hulk in Avengers Endgame. And then we find out that David's mother is Amelia, who we've seen previously. So that's what makes him the rightful heir to the throne of Gondor. And then we do get another vamp wolf love interest thing going on here, and trading sides. This girl who works for the vampires, of course, is in a romantic relationship. And speaking of Lord of the Rings, Celine has basically become Gandalf in the Two Towers in this. She like comes back as like Celine the White, and she like brings troops with her to Helm's Deep and everything. I mean, it's very much, her hair's even white now, like, and she's out, you know, she's got like highlights in it. She's got a balayage. She doesn't even have like full fucking highlights or anything. She's got like, you know, painted in ombre. Not that Gandalf had any balayage going on, but it was just funny that she came back basically like something resurrected her. She became this new version of herself, and she brought troops with her to save the day and everything. It's just very Gandalf. I think someone was watching a little too much Lord of the Rings when they wrote this one, which isn't a bad thing to watch a lot of Lord of the Rings, but you might want to dial back the plagiarism. Okay, this isn't an outright plagiarism, but it does have a lot of similarities. And then we find out that Marius is the one that killed Michael, and the blood that he's been carrying around on him, and the cylinders, or the little vials, I guess, is actually Michael's blood, and that he uses the blood like a drug so that he can be the badass that he is, although he's running low. And this is why he's looking for Eve. Eva! Should have had Wally in this movie. And then the way she defeats him, though, is pretty badass. She grabs his spine and rips it out of his body like the fucking Predator. That was pretty badass. I don't think there's a single practical werewolf in this entire film, which is a huge, huge shame. And then, okay, so Samira, the scene with Samira is great because she like accomplishes her goal, gets the blood, ingests it, starts having the change, feels it. She can see it going through her body. She looks out at the sun. She knows she's like changed. She's good. And then boom, like 2 seconds later, just gets a sword through the back of her face and just is dead, gone, done. That was hilarious, awesome, beautiful. Love that shit. So out of nowhere. I know some people would look at that as like totally lackluster, subversion of expectations just for a shock value, this and that. What a waste of a character. What is all this setup with this kind of conclusion? All this. Sometimes I understand that, but not here. It was just great to see her kind of accomplish her goal, and then boom, just and the look of like, oh no, like I just accomplished what I was trying to. I loved that. So for me, that was just awesome. And then yeah, I mean, they defeat the werewolves, and they like that we killed your leader. They bring the head back in, and the wolves just kind of retreat, and she like saves their life. It's like, why don't you just kill them off? But she lets them run away. And then Celine's made an elder, which is kind of makes sense. Now they're kind of out of elders, and she has the Covina strain, so it would make perfect sense that she would become an elder. And then yeah, once again, super hollow ending. Something happens at the end here, and I was just like, I didn't even care at that point. Like somebody's like sitting down, she goes and there's like this white witch or something, like an actual witch of some sort that like brings Celine back, and I don't know what was going on with that character. And like they tried to set up some new lore in here, but they didn't spend enough time on it. They didn't spend enough time on the characters. I don't know. It's okay. Both of these are fine. They're okay. But if you're a big Underworld fanatic and you're like super stoked on the first 3, then these would be a pretty big letdown for the franchise. Like, they're okay, they're passable, they're watchable, but man, they're a definite decrease in quality comparative to the first 3. So there you go. All right, man. So thank you to Peter for donating and requesting these. It was cool. I'm glad that I got to do these. I would definitely like to do the Resident Evil franchise at some point like this, but we'll get to that when the time comes. All right, adios.